the situation is like. How serious is this? We're talking about the worst drought in South Africa in 23 years, I understand.
Well, good evening and good evening to your viewers. Indeed, as you have mentioned, this is quite a difficult situation for our country. The drought conditions that we are currently confronting are said to be the worst since 1992. And obviously, this is not a man-made issue. You know, we are dealing with global warming, we are dealing with issues of climate change. And now recently we've had very drastic heat waves going through the country through the phenomenon known as El Nino. Now, all of these things have contributed to bringing us to the situation where we are currently, where we are confronted by the absence and the lack of water, especially in areas such as KwaZulu Natal, the Free State and the Northwest. And part and parcel of what the minister will be doing on Sunday is to provide the country with an analysis and assessment as to where we are in as far as the drought situation is concerned, but also to outline what government has done in order to mitigate the effects of that particular drought.
Just give us a few more details, because this isn't isolated. You've mentioned a few provinces, so the Free State, KwaZulu Natal, disaster areas. You mentioned the Northwest. I understand concerns about Limpopo even as well.
Well, there are concerns with a number of provinces throughout the country, but I think the important thing that we must also take is that what is currently taking place with the drought conditions that we face also feeds into another problem that we have in the country. South Africa is known as the 30th driest country in the world, and one of the things that we've not appreciated previously is that we are not a country that has an abundance of water resources, and hence you would know that some of the water that we use, for instance, in our economic hub, which is Gauteng, is water drawn from some of our neighboring countries such as Lesotho. And government is now in the process negotiating in trying to pull water from as far as the Zambezi through Zimbabwe to try and augment some of our water resources in the country. But the most important thing is that as government and as the minister has been making the point, is that we need to educate South Africans on how to be wise when using water and how to use water responsibly, because ultimately a behavioral change will go a long way in sustaining our water resources and being able to ensure that we are able to develop storage capacity that can save water for future generations.
Mlimandaela, I'm getting your name wrong there. Just finally, give us a picture of life for the people affected. We see visuals of taps that you turn on, they run dry. Often we know this affects the poor. We heard reports there of dirty water, and these are people who don't have sophisticated systems. How is life affected, and how will aid be augmented by declaring these areas disaster zones?
Well, in the areas that have been declared disasters, obviously there's interventions that government has put in place. For instance, in provinces like KwaZulu Natal, there are pockets and areas where we do have water, but it's a question of not having the water where we need it most, and especially in the areas that are inhabited by our people in those particular provinces. So the part and parcel of the intervention is to make sure that we're able to move water and supply it to the areas that require water at this particular stage. But as I have said, the minister, as part and parcel of the briefing on Sunday, will outline clearly some of the interventions that are being made. And as you would know, KwaZulu Natal was declared a disaster in December last year already. But again, the province has felt that they must again declare a new disaster based on development since that particular time. So all of these things are taking place in a context where government has been observing and monitoring the situation, and where interventions have been put in place to ensure that we are able to supply our people with water so that we can meet the minimum requirements of our people and in line with providing water in line with the constitutional requirements on the state.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndamase, from the Department of Water Affairs. And of course, we know that food